The IRS recently issued anticipated guidance on how to handle carryback elections related to farm net operating losses. Roger McEowen with the Washburn School of Law joins us now for all these details. Counselor, always good to visit with you. Why is this issued guidance important for farm taxpayers to consider?
Well, John, good to be with you today. I think it's clearly because the Congress has changed the rules multiple times over the past couple of years. And if you go back to the Trump administration in late 2017, we had legislation then that limited the deductibility of a net operating loss arising in a year after 2017 to 80% of taxable income. And you couldn't carry it back unless it was a farm-related NOL, and you could carry those back 2 years, but nobody else could carry it back. But you could make an irrevocable election to waive that and carry it forward indefinitely. Then the CARES Act came along. We got into the virus issues. Congress comes into the CARES Act, and of course, they've got economic chaos going on in the states. So they suspend the 80% limitation on the NOLs through 2020 and remove the 2-year carryback option and said, well, you can carry it back 5. For an NOL arising in tax years after 17 and before 21, so for 18, 19, and 20. But that created an issue. We had some farmers that had already carried back an NOL for 2 years, and they were locked into it, and then Congress changes the rules and said, well, you can carry it back 5 years. Well, maybe that would be good to do, but now you couldn't do it. Well, then Congress wasn't done. We get to late 2020, and they go in and they amend the CARES Act to allow taxpayers to disregard the CARES Act provisions for NOLs. So if you had elected the 2-year carryback under the 2017 law, then you could retain that carryback by election rather than the 2-year carryback rather than claim the 5-year carryback under the CARES Act. And then they added another provision that said, well, if you'd previously waived an election to carry back an NOL, you could revoke that. So it was just, pull your hair out nightmare stuff that Congress had done with all of these changes.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for going through all of that. So what impacts do affirmative elections and the CARES Act that you were talking about have on farm taxpayers then?
Well, this most recent guidance from the IRS that came out on June 30th concerning affirmative elections and the CARES Act and the opt-out and the opt-in, what it does is it allows a farmer now greater flexibility on how they want to choose to handle their farm NOLs by filing amended returns to change the tax treatment that they were previously locked into.
So, Roger, after going through all of this, then, what is your big takeaway from this when you talk to producers?
Well, I think for a farmer, get professional help on this. Congress has made this so confusing, so unbelievably confusing, that I think only competent tax help that works with farmers and understands this is going to be able to get you. That's about the only way you're going to be able to get the best tax result you possibly could, given what your options are now. So find that good rural attorney, that rural tax attorney that understands farm returns and rely on them.
All right, Roger. Well, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you very much. That's Roger McEowen. He is with the Washburn School of Law in Topeka, Kansas, joining us here on the Market Day Report.